Welcome to Sewing Out Loud, the official podcast of Zede Sewing Studio. Here are your hosts, Zede and Mallory.
Sewing Out Loud. Hello and welcome to the podcast. I'm Mallory Donahue.
And I'm Zede Donahue.
And we should say before we get started on this podcast that Sam is going back and remastering
the old ones.
Yes,
she's going previous from, ones that we didn't know what we were doing in.
She's going from the beginning of the podcast archive way back to Thread with Your Presser Foot Up. And
is that the first one?
It's the first one, which I think,
of course,
I'm very
that's
proud of
very
that.
apropos.
That was a good idea,
yes,
right?
very, very much.
And she's remastering all of the episodes. Some of them weren't mixed into the proper format. So she's doing that. She's adding in.
So she's earning her keep.
She definitely deserves those gilded pedicures.
Does she?
Or no, gilded bonbons, whatever. You know, whatever we're paying.
She doesn't
her
like pedicures.
Yeah. So,
I hear. I hear her say.
If you are new to the podcast and you're listening to the first few episodes or something, the first few should be just as good as these now, and
or go back and listen, even if you've heard them before.
Okay,
listen to my charming voice tell you how to keep your presser foot up.
What we're not supposed to do, you and me,
is go off in tangents. No,
that's okay. We're not supposed to whisper.
I like to sometimes whisper.
Yeah, Mama she'll get all coy.
I get sneaky and coy.
She'll back off from the microphone and she'll be like, What's something you say? I'm trying to come up with something very Zede or whatever. She'll be like...
some demerit thing.
Yeah. She'll be like, oh, that person didn't, thread with their presser foot. Okay, so we weren't supposed to whisper. We're not supposed to whisper for emphasis.
Okay, never again, ever.
Yeah. Now, tangents, this is cool. Sam is doing show notes, and she's trying to really flesh out the show notes. Our show is a little odd. In terms of podcasts,
only like us.
Yes, and our show, just like you and me, Mom, is a mix of humor and sewing knowledge.
It's true.
So she is going through and picking out all of the really relevant stuff and putting that in the show notes in case somebody wants to skim for information.
I see. That is a very good idea.
Which is something that we really desperately needed to do. But then at the bottom,
she's putting what the tangents are.
There's a little section called tangents.
Because tangents sometimes become important information.
Or they're just fun, or something like that.
That's true, too.
The fact that these will be written down in words, on the website means they'll be searchable. So if someone just desperately wants to hear about, a tangent that we went on, they'll be able to find it in the episode.
If they realize that was a tangent.
Yeah, but that'll be at the bottom, okay? So did I tell you, Derek Hurd is back earlier this summer, and it really made for...
a sucky summer.
Yes, in a lot of ways. So my childcare was, my planned on childcare was non-existent, right? Because he couldn't lift the kids. And I said, you can transcribe podcast episodes.
Right.
So this is something.
Did he listen to any of them?
Oh my gosh!
I bet he went nuts.
He tried, and he got so
frustrated,
whatever, that I was like, let's just not do it. And he's like, well, I'll try again. I was like, no, I don't want you to try.
Don't want you mad at me just because I make a podcast you don't like.
No, he was like, well, I don't know what to include. What do you want me to write down every word you say? Blah, blah. I was like, all right, just calm down. Okay, go, just play your video game and recuperate.
Yes, because everything I say is important. Every single word that I utter to you is important.
And he is an English major. He's a very
talented
he has a BA
in English. If anybody's ever seen Avenue Q, there's a whole song about having a BA in English.
So this whole bit at the beginning is going to be down in the tangent section of the show notes for this podcast.
Because it's about our personal life.
Yes. Okay. Well, anyway, we just want to let you know.
What is this podcast about, Mallory?
This podcast is about wedding hems.
And not the kind you sing. But the kind you put on clothing.
Not hymns.
Hems.
Hems.
Yes.
Yeah. So we were asked to do a very last minute set of bridal alterations for someone.
Again.
And I just feel like every time we are asked to do something like this, we're like, what the hell's wrong with this dress? Like, why is this dress
and of
like
course, it's always someone that's very difficult to say no to. A family member or a quasi-family member, someone you've known for 40 years or something. Something, or they have a sad story and we don't know what to do except go, Well, I guess so. Well, and
It's
who?
also so last minute.
Right, and who else is going to do it?
Yeah,
Him.
who
In
else?
less than a week.
Yeah.
And I don't know why people don't think about this. Well, the other thing I didn't understand is someone sold them this dress that was a foot too long, but did not have the ability to have it hemmed.
Yeah, okay. So
where do you get that dress?
notwithstanding like this particular situation,
Right.
I'm like, yeah, what's going on?
Yeah.
What is going on in the dress selling
Exactly.
world, right? Like
Now, even a wedding store, gown house, whatever,
right.
that sells, they will tell you there's a wait, there's a 2-week or a month wait or whatever, or they will tell you that there's an expedient fee.
Mm-hmm.
So you can get it done. It's just going to cost you.
Okay, so this most recent hem, it had a bunch of appliqué lace, little pieces of lace on it that were then beaded.
Right.
And so when I get the picture texted to me, 9 days before the wedding.
Right.
Okay.
Oh no. And also, weren't they saying they were going to look for someone to hem it, and if they couldn't find one, they'd call you?
Yeah, I had to make a decision, and
well, no, you had to you had to put down the law.
Yes, they said, oh well, so it's like it's Thursday. There's 2 Thursdays before the wedding, this one included, right? And they say, hey, well, this weekend we're going to see if this one person will do it, and then if they can't do it, can you do it? And I was like, nope. If I'm going to do it, I need it.
We need to know.
I get it over the
That's
weekend.
right.
I get the weekend. I get the weekend, not someone else to screw it up, So I said, if I'm going to do it.
Well, that's the other thing, too. If it had been screwed up,
knows?
guess who would have gotten it?
Right. So anyway, we get this dress, and it was very interesting, though. I mean, I did learn things from it. I'm taking off these appliques, and I realized that the beads have been put on afterwards.
Right. The applique was put on, and then the bead was put through all layers. Instead of,
like a beaded applique.
Right. Had I made the dress, I would have appliqued I would have beaded the appliques, then put it on if I was looking that someone will probably have to hem this. And I don't know. I know we've talked about wedding dresses before. Wedding dresses are generally made to be hemmed.
Yeah.
They're made for a model who's like 5'10", 5'11", and very few of us are that tall.
And it made sense as I was, taking these things off and thinking, I think it makes sense for the manufacturing process. Okay, so they get this lace
because it's faster for them to sew it on.
The lace, and then they can go back and bead that. And I was like, oh, that's interesting.
Because they don't have to then sew around the beads.
Yes,
correct.
And then they don't have to hem it, right?
That's right. They don't have to hem it.
They don't have to hem it. So I was like, okay, these need to be taken off, and da da da. So I get the bride here and get the dress on her, and it actually looks. It looked nicer when I put it on her. It looked nicer when I
well, that makes a difference too.
And I told her about it's a corseted. Well, it's a
boned corseted top with the lace in the back. Right.
Okay. And
which is really the best for a fit.
Sure.
Usually.
There were no straps, though. So I did explain to her, as we've explained before on this podcast, about how this dress is held up from the waist. Okay. And then
it should be held up from the waist.
Yes, it should
we
be
see
held up.
people let them try and be held up by the bust,
right,
or the the underarm or the overbust, and that is not where they're held up.
So we did a whole podcast
properly,
on that.
right?
Okay, so I'm telling her this, trying to explain these, like concepts, and she seems very receptive.
Right.
And then I told her about like scooping her boob up,
right,
and putting it in there, and she was like, "Oh, okay,"
right.
And actually, on the lining of this dress, there's like these 2 lines that intersect, like right at the apex.
Oh, so you've got a good,
so I said,
you got a
put
target
your
for the
nipples
nipple,
there.
right? Sometimes you got a good target place.
Yes, it was perfect. And I have to say, okay, we provide the So Long and So Happy zine to the Backstitch and Zigzag members every month.
Correct.
And it's available for $9.99 just per issue if you want to get it. I used every tip from the Fancy Month zine.
Oh, on
this
the dress. Yeah.
I was, I learned things. I interview Mom. I take the photos. Of course, I know some things. Of course, Mom knows more than me. And I was using every piece of knowledge that I gained as I was making the alterations on this dress.
You actually taught me something on this one, though.
I did.
Remember?
I did teach you a cool thing.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll talk about that. So anyway, this hem, I marked it, and then I took the dress off the girl, and she leaves. And do we look at it that day or the next day?
I don't know. I just know I looked at it and she was gone.
She was gone.
Yeah, it was probably on.
No, it was that day. And
it was the same day,
this
yeah.
is the day after Mom has had super invasive
Yes.
oral surgery.
I've had like my sinus bone ripped apart and sheared off and bone graft put in and all this.
And I am trying not to ask like for your help, like real hard,
Yeah.
you know. But it's hanging up, and my pins where I pinned.
Yeah,
it
I'm
in,
like, how did you pin
You're like,
this?
what
It
the
didn't.
heck?
It made no sense.
It looked super screwed up.
Yeah,
And I'm like-
it looks like she had Zelda pin it.
I was like, what is going on here? And so it's got this sheer overlay with these
And
appliques
Zelda's
on
3.
it. Yeah. It's got the sheer overlay with these appliques on it, but then it's like a lined dress underneath. And the outer fabric of the dress part, the pink satin, it's all like bubbled up. Like
Yeah, it's bubbled over the. It doesn't make sense. It makes no sense.
And I have to say, I think it doesn't make sense because it didn't look like that when it was on her.
Well,
I
and
was
you've
pinning
seen
it.
a lot of you've marked some wedding dresses, but you've seen a lot of them.
Didn't you
A
think that
lot.
I wouldn't have screwed up that weird?
I don't.
Did
I
you
would
think
not
that
have.
in your brain?
If somebody else would have done that, I would have thought they were like just
Didn't
a
know what they
true
were doing.
idiot.
No,
Yeah. I would not have accepted
Okay.
that, you did it correctly.
Yeah.
Yes.
So why doesn't this look right? So we look at the dress and how it's hanging up, and the lining of this dress is only attached at the neckline and
the hem.
the back lacing and the hem.
And-
Okay.
Right.
So it's the hanging straps in the side of the dress are pulling the lining up and
Right.
have been doing this probably in the store.
We think the dress has probably been hanging in the store like 2 or
For a
3 years.
minute.
It was like
Okay, Mom, in the lingo, okay, if you say it's been there a minute, it means like a while. So just
a
so
minute.
you
I
could
thought
go-
a minute really meant like not
no,
long.
No, it means you say like,
Oh my
that-
gosh! Now
so
I have to learn some more language.
I learned
Oh
this
my
from
gosh!
Lindsay, and she was, and then I
No,
and then I
it
heard
was there for like a eon.
Okay, all right.
It's obviously a sample dress.
Uh-huh.
It had been there. Lots of people have tried it on. We found makeup on the inside,
Yeah.
and spots and little road rash underneath the
That's the perfect way. It's
little,
like someone stepped back onto the
right,
train.
little road rash under the train. The dress will be beautiful.
Yeah, it's gonna be great. And these dresses are more resilient than a lot of people think.
Right, right. Well, it'll look good in pictures.
Yeah.
That's all that counts,
Okay,
honestly.
so
Yes.
it turns out I wasn't an idiot, and actually, just like when you made the lining and the outer dress line up.
So we took it apart. Yeah, we unpinned it and sort of kept our landmarks. And so it had become misshapen. Like
Yes.
the overskirt had somehow, or the public part of the dress, not the lining, the public fabric, had somehow outgrown the lining. It did not on the side seams.
right,
where
it's
it had been
only in
seamed
the
together.
front.
Only
Yeah.
well, no, there were a few places in the
In the
back on the
back
train
where-
that were a
okay.
little funny, but
Mhm.
not as bad as the front. So I don't know if it was from hanging poorly,
Yeah.
what or people, getting into it weird. I have no idea. Well, plus, we've talked about this before too. Those 2 hanging straps are never enough for a dress like this.
Yeah.
They need more, and we did add more.
Yes.
It will become misshapen.
Yeah.
There is just no way. So somehow, the public fabric, the satin, which was actually, I thought, a pretty good grade of
Mhm.
satin, had somehow gotten too big.
Well, it was the
It
lining,
outgrew.
Yeah, the lining was being drawn up. So when we lined it all up, my pins made more sense.
Yes.
Okay, and then
Because it did line up with the organza overlay.
Yes. So there's this organza overlay, which brings us, now to this hem, So before we cut the hem off, I was trying, we looked at our pins. We kind of decided which appliques
Right.
we needed to
To
take
remove,
off.
right.
And
Or which we could just cut around and reapply.
Yes. And this is where we discovered like the order of operations here, because I was like, oh, I'll just take the appliques off. Whoa, beads flying everywhere.
Right.
Ting, 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 ting on the floor, So, okay, these beads have to be, taken off or this tied off. But yeah, Mom said, what she said was we would remove the lace to a certain point.
Right.
Where the rotary cutter would cut that hem in, but it's just appliqued onto this organza. So it's not, we didn't necessarily have to remove the applique off of the organza. We could just cut close if it was in that part that was being, cut off. And so that's what we did. And we did salvage some, and some did have the beads, completely taken off of them. And then you sort of made it so a couple of those appliques could like stay on the dress. Right. You were like, oh, we're just gonna make this a little longer. It was like near the side.
And this is, I would like to interject here with the process of doing bridal. And the more and more bridal someone does, they find out sort of the way these are put together.
Yeah.
And there's probably 4 or 5 ways stuff is put together, and it will repeat itself. You'll get a gown and go, oh, this is the one that's done this way, or this is the one that's done this way. And I actually thought there was going to be horsehair in this hem, which is the way this one was done, but there was no horsehair, which gives another reason that I guess the lining was weird and grew out of shape. But I don't think it's a bad idea to look at a dress. Mm-hmm. And then, step away from it and think about it.
Yeah, yeah.
And not just dive into it, but, look at it, inspect it. How is this sewn on? What's sewn on first?
That's great. Yeah.
Who's on first, who's on second kind of thing. And go, how am I going to go about this, which is the most efficient for me and will, also come out with the best result.
Well, and I do want to say, so this had these little lace appliques on the bottom. If this had been some kind of trim or something else,
where you could pull it back.
You could pull that back. Now, the other thing about this dress was that this overlay was all one piece. There wasn't and there was no clear delineation at the waist or anything like that.
There's only side seams, that's it.
So some people would have looked at the dress, or they would have looked at the, oh, this has a decorative hem, and thought, can we bring it up at the waist?
Right.
So the answer on this dress is
no,
not on this one. But I did get out another wedding dress that we had here at the house, and I was looking at dresses we have at the house that are hemmed, and I was like, wonder if she'd like any of these. So anyway, I came across this dress we have here that is cut work.
It's a Battenberg lace is what it's called.
Yeah, but it,
it's Battenberg work. Yes, it's cut work. It is
the fabric.
Right, it's integrated within the fabric.
Yes, so the technique is the Battenberg technique, but it is on the fabric. It is not applied.
No.
So I said to Mom, I was like, well, how would you hem this dress? And you told me that dress you would take up from the waist.
Now, there is another way to do that.
Okay.
You could go right up to the cut work, trim away very, very, very carefully, and then move that up. And basically satin stitch on that. I would probably move the waist.
So if you move the waist, you're basically shortening from the top, and you have to redo some side seams, right? Because you have to make it narrower.
It depends on the dress. It depends on,
depends on the dress.
Here's the other thing on a wedding dress. You usually have a train. Okay. Traditional wedding dresses will have a train. So you only hem the front of the dress.
Sure.
Right. You don't hem the back. So it just depends. And it also, depending on the severity of it, you may be able to just lift the front of the dress, or you may have to do the whole waist.
Okay.
It just depends.
Okay, that's good to know.
Right. You just have to go, if I just lift the front of this, is it going to get wonky? Well, if you only have to lift it 2 or 3 inches, you may be able to, undo the waist, right, and lift. If not, and here's the other thing. A lot of times these are full skirts, so you don't have, if you have a full skirt, you don't have to worry about the side seam either. You can gather that or something, or you can make a tiny pleat. Girls women now like pockets in their wedding dress, this is the time to do it.
Yeah.
Okay, if they have a side seam.
They're getting
Yeah, you can put a pocket in their side seam. So, there's a couple of ways to lift something at the waist.
Okay, and then I wanted to say that this dress had like a tulle, underskirt.
The one that
we were working talking
on?
about.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and then it had like a bit of a lining to separate the tulle,
right?
From the body. And it was just a real thin,
right.
like China silk.
Right. You usually want something between the body and the tulle because it is itchy and stiff.
Sure. And I just want to say I did that all by my lonesome. Okay. And I told her, I said, I'm not going to do this hem quite as nice because we're on a time crunch. And I just took it over to the serger, put some blue thread in the serger. Actually, it was already in there. I thought, oh, this is serendipitous. And I did a 3-thread narrow hem on this lining just to shorten it. And then she has something blue in the dress.
And I've often done that, is put in a blue ribbon on the bustle or a blue hem or something, so they have blue and they don't have to worry about it.
So that hem originally was like turned over twice, top stitched like a
kind of like a tiny hem, or a rolled hem.
And it just wasn't necessary.
It's not.
Okay, it's not seen.
Right.
The other hem
now,
is secure.
sometimes you don't even have to touch that hem.
Yeah.
Because usually the tulle and the that hem are a lot shorter than the entire dress.
Yeah, so the tulle didn't
short
need
enough
to be messed with.
I think it looks like it's been cut off.
Oh, does it? I didn't
I'm going to look at it again.
Now, I did notice the tulle, I think the edges of the tulle are bound.
They look like they have a ribbon on them.
So that's someplace where if you needed to shorten that, would you have like moved the tulle up on the inner skirt?
No.
Or would you have cut the tulle?
I would have just cut it.
You just cut the tulle.
I would have.
All right.
Yeah.
I was curious. I was thinking my lucky stars are like, great, don't have to worry about that. So, yes, the bridal hems or wedding dress hems, depending on that treatment on the bottom of the hem, you're going to need to decide what needs to be preserved,
right?
Or something like that. And so Mom and I hung the dress up. We've got hooks in the sewing room, which I'm very grateful for.
In the ceiling.
And we just got our razor blades out and started, taking these appliques off. So let's take a little message break and come back and talk more about wedding hems. Hey, everybody. It's Mallory here in your message break. And I just want to make an announcement or a disclaimer or whatever we're supposed to call it, that we are going to start using affiliate links as a way to get support for the podcast and for our website and everything like that. Mom, do you know what an affiliate link is?
Okay, she's affiliating me with something and I have no idea what this is about.
Yeah, I totally used, our tax ID number to, So what an affiliate link is.
I'm going to wind up in jail and not know what I'm being charged with. Is that right?
Probably.
Okay.
No, because we're disclaiming it right now.
Oh, okay.
Affiliate links.
I'll just need a lawyer. I won't go to jail.
Yes,
okay.
Yes. And we'll make money from the affiliate links to pay for the lawyer.
So Zede's going to need to keep her butt out of jail.
No, we're doing it all right. Okay, so here's the deal. Affiliate links are links that we post that maybe to Amazon or to other products on other platforms. And when you click through and you buy things on Amazon or you subscribe to something, that we're an affiliate for, we get a kickback. Okay.
Oh, we make money?
Yeah, we make a little bit of money. And what's really cool about the Amazon thing is, we make the kickback on everything you buy. So
if they buy a refrigerator, I can make money on it.
That is correct.
Hey, everybody, buy a refrigerator.
No, we're not. Okay, so that's something we're not supposed to do, right?
Oh, we're not supposed to. So now I am going to wind up in jail.
So the terms of service, though, I just want to let you all know, is that we have to disclaim, hey, we're an affiliate for this or this. When we share this tracing paper from Amazon that has free shipping, this is an affiliate link. You need to know that I am not just innocently recommending this, and we will get a kickback on that. So you're going to see some of those in the group. It's never going to be crap that we don't.
I was going to say, even though we could endorse crap,
we won't.
We're not going. We're actually going to maintain our ethics.
Yes.
Okay.
And we're going to find you things at places that ship fast, We're going to recommend products that we really enjoy using. If you've ever ordered something from us, you may have noticed that Mallory's not the most organized shipper and packer. So we are going to play to our strengths and really focus on creating the podcasts, the videos, the online classes, and allow other businesses that are really good at shipping things to ship things to you. So just be aware that we will be using those affiliate links. There are lots of ways to let you know. I can just say this is an affiliate link, or sometimes people use hashtags, and I've been getting really creative and using, and it's been a lot of fun already in the group. So just heads up, we're going to be doing that. And if you click on an affiliate link, know that if you purchase something, you'll be supporting SewHere.com, and we so appreciate it.
Good idea, Mal.
Sewing out loud.
We're back.
We're back. Don't whisper, we're back. No.
I wasn't whispering.
Would you have something in your throat?
I think I lost my voice.
Okay. We're back.
Let me clear my voice. Oh.
All right. So talk to us a little bit. You said you didn't talk about bridesmaids' hems. Or should we go back to the prep?
Well, let's go back to, let's talk about the wedding hem, because when this bride called Mallory, she said, I have my shoes on order. And Mallory said, I can tell you how high they are.
Cool.
No, that doesn't work. You've got to have, somebody needs to be wearing the shoe, or at least the height of the shoe. And what you tell them is, if this is not your shoe, I'm going by this shoe.
Well,
I mean.
And she did say, I'm ordering my shoes right now. And I was like, okay. And she said, I know how tall they are, which I thought was good.
That was good.
Looked. And I said, please try and bring a shoe that is very similar.
Right.
To the one,
Absolutely.
And so I appreciated that she had taken it into account. But yeah, shoes and undergarments.
Undergarments, if there are any.
Right.
I really try, especially if the dress is corseted like that, to keep undergarments out of the story. Because the fewer undergarments you have on, the less you have to worry about, and worry about something shifting or whatever.
What I didn't know from this is if she would need a petticoat. I couldn't tell from the photos.
Or a crinoline.
Or something like that. I was like, I can't tell.
Well, and sometimes a crinoline is an option.
Yeah.
Okay. How full does she want the skirt? Does she want the skirt smaller? Is she getting married like in a very more confined space?
Yeah. And you don't want.
And then sometimes you leave the petticoat. Sometimes you can put a crinoline up under a dress and you shorten it 2 inches by doing that.
Absolutely. No, that's very true. So she didn't. Yeah. So she ended up. She did not wear a bra.
Because it's corseted.
Yes, and so that was good. And I did give her a tip. I said, hey, do you have like a robe that you can wear while you're getting ready or something? Is it because you're not going to wear a bra, and I don't know how you're getting dressed.
And this is another thing. Mallory showed up at a wedding one time and had to hem a dress right there. There was not a safety pin. There was not a straight pin. There was not a needle and thread. There was static guards needed. I used baby wipes to clean makeup because inevitably someone gets makeup on the bride's dress, or gets, the bridesmaids get makeup. They put makeup on first and then they put their dress on and something happens. Baby wipes are really good because they do have usually some sort of oil base in them. So it will usually remove makeup or lipstick or something right away.
Kit.
So why people don't think about this is amazing to me. I would assume this is on every bride internet site in the world that you need, some sort of an deodorant. What else? I don't know. Just anything. I often put baby powder in there. Sometimes the shoe doesn't go on because you're nervous and you're hot. Things like that. So, the other thing I like to do, and I've been doing this a lot lately in my own shoes, is put panty liners in my shoes.
Oh.
Well, especially if you're going to be nervous and sweaty or something, and if you're not wearing a stocking, it keeps your shoe from getting slippery wet inside.
Maybe I just haven't been getting fancy enough lately.
Yeah, I don't think you have.
I guess not.
But those little bitty panty liners go right in a shoe.
Well,
then you can throw them away.
So not the super jumbo overnight pads.
Well, if you wanted to be puffy about it, I guess, or feeling like you're walking on air or a cloud or something.
Okay, so bring the shoes to the fitting.
But why someone would not have safety pins is just beyond me. I throw a hook and eye in. Of course,
Sure.
I mean, I overdo.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
But I mean, I have a kit I carry in my car, whether I'm going to just when I go to the grocery store, I have it in my car. But,
so if you need a wedding dress alteration in Colombia, just go to the grocery store and try to catch Zede. You know she's got the kit in her car. Just ask her right then. Just ask her.
But I'm amazed. I mean, because you never know whose button, even the guys, the button falls off of the tux or the whatever the shirt they're wearing or what, it just amazes me. In fact, I've been known to carry around a pair of black socks in there, because usually a guy will show up with the wrong color socks.
Experience. Okay.
You can always magic marker their ankles too.
Talk about bridesmaids.
Well, bridesmaids. Yeah. Since we're talking about wedding hymns. Well, wait a minute. Let's talk about the length first of the bride's hem. Mm-hmm. Okay, where do you want it? It's kind of a funny place, okay? To me, this is where I put my bride's hymns. I want it off the floor, but when she walks, I really don't want to see anything more than the barely tip of her shoe, if I see that at all. Mm-hmm. In a straight dress, you're going to see the tip of a shoe.
Yeah.
In a full dress, you won't, okay? But when they say, I want it on the floor, Mallory can tell them the story about the bride that fell on her face.
Right.
You have to consider safety again. And I really believe people see this in magazines. They see it on runways and things where the dresses are draped to the floor. It won't work. You can't get up the aisle.
And I did talk to her about that. I was like, I know you probably see pictures of these pooling, but we want to make sure you can walk. So I did tell her that. And then I had two lengths to consider, right? Because I had this sheer overlay, So I made the sheer overlay the longer length, and then the underskirt, the dress under there.
Right.
Could be a little shorter so that it would still have that nice look.
Right.
So, yes.
You usually want your top layer to be the longest. Absolutely.
Make sure that your peeps can walk and not trip.
You don't want it to be what I call a toe catcher, where when they walk, the toe of their shoe actually almost grabs the hem or the front of the dress.
Right.
So, I think that pretty well takes care of all that.
Okay, talk about that bridesmaid's hem.
Okay, so the bridesmaid's hem. If you fold up your bridesmaid's hem 2.5 inches, and then blind hem it, like we did in the 60s and the 70s, people will think you don't know what you're doing, okay? The modern look is that the hem is cut where the dress will hang. So basically, you only need a 1/2 inch or a 1/4 inch more than where the dress is going to fall when they're walking. And you put in a tiny hem or a rolled hem.
So what Mom's talking about with the tiny hem, we made a video. Does it have 3 or 4 options?
I think it has 3.
Video.
Or it shows you at least 3 ways. The tiny. No, it does. It has 3 options because I think we did a serger hem too.
Well, I think it's technically 4. Okay, because we show that if you have extra slippery fabric on the tiny hem on the sewing machine, that you might do it up twice with the sewing machine, or if it folds over twice for you, then you don't need to do it. And so then we did the serger, and then we did the zigzag on the sheer.
Yes.
Which that is a beautiful piece of sewing cinematography, if I do say so myself. It is so gorgeous. So these tiny hems, they are easier than you think.
Right.
You don't have to have a serger.
And actually, they're easier than the folding the hem up your 2 and 2.5 inches because you're usually not working with a different diameter. Where in some dresses where there's an A-line form to the dress or something, where the dress flares at the hem, you have to accommodate that the bottom of the hem is larger than the where it's folded up to.
Up or whatever. Yes, absolutely. So do check out the blog post is like Tiny Hem Techniques with Zede. We'll link to it in these show notes that Sam is, doing up so nicely.
It's a blog post and a film, right?
It's a blog, the blog post has the video.
Oh, is that what it is? Okay.
And then the video is also on YouTube.
They confused me all the time with all this stuff.
Well, actually, sometimes, so when I upload a video to YouTube, it should also become a blog post, right?
Right.
And I realized that I hadn't done that for a couple of our videos. And I was like, oh, well, that's a fast blog post.
No joke.
So, anyway.
So the other thing with this bridesmaid's hem is definitely she is not supposed to trip on her dress.
Yeah.
And it's usually a little bit short. If this is a long dress, it should be shorter than the bride's dress. It, the tips of her feet can show.
So
right?
a way to avoid any issue with this is don't have bridesmaids.
Right.
And get a T-length wedding dress.
That's right. Well, and you will have bridesmaids that say, "No, I want it longer." And I've looked at them, and I've had to say, in my mean smackdown voice, this is how it's going to be, and this is not your wedding.
Yeah.
Yeah. I realize they've paid for the dress, but they knew that coming in. Tough. But I mean, the worst thing you want is a bridesmaid who's pulling up or who's
Dress,
distracting from what's going on.
Yeah.
They really are supposed to be like a piece of furniture. Mm-hmm. You don't have to tell them that, but
listen, basically weddings are just like theatrical performances.
That's what they are.
Okay,
yes.
So we come at this from a costumer's
everything's
perspective.
a theatrical
right,
performance.
Exactly. So it's like
when we go up,
don't touch your hair while you're up there.
When my children go on an interview for a job or something, they're like, "Well, I have to audition for this job."
Yes.
And it's like to pack groceries or something. But what do I wear to my audition? Yes.
I'm going to an actual audition tonight.
Are you going tonight? Yeah, I saw that.
What? Did you give that girl that bag?
Yeah, I did.
She's
Enola.
She's the musical director for that show.
Oh, well, she's the musical director right now for another show.
You're bribing her.
I bribed her.
You're bribing her to give me a part in this show.
She's really nice.
Well,
she's really nice.
What if I don't? I thought about not saying anything about it. What if I don't make it?
Well, just say, "You're Enola. You know my mother."
Anyway.
I just said her name. And it's not one like we can get by with that a lot of people have. But actually, she's musically directing Cabaret.
Right
uh-huh. Yeah.
So if anybody wants to know, I'm trying out for Sweeney Todd tonight. I'm auditioning, so we'll see how that goes.
Well, maybe if you might even see the bag.
Yeah, maybe.
No, she really liked it.
She'll bring it in.
She really liked it. I thought you were going to tell me I had to take it away from her so you could give it to somebody else.
I embroidered that. Put me in the show. Okay. I embroidered it. I know Zede gave it to you, okay, but I embroidered it. Okay, so a couple things about this dress. I was saying that I was using so many tips from the Fancy Month zine. The Fancy Month zine, too, it might be one of our longest zines that isn't
because it's like all those long dresses. That's why.
Is that why? Okay. It doesn't have like a pattern in it. Like one zine was the kimono and one zine was the joggers from the leggings, and stuff. But this zine had all these in-depth pictures of
You can tell the music director that you will make her a kimono for her aerial performance.
Oh.
That's coming out in October. There's a bribe for you.
Okay, there's a bribe. Anyway. Okay, so.
Tangent.
The zine has all of these tips on construction or things you can add to ready-to-wear dresses, which is what I was doing. So this dress has these 2 hanging straps that are just a couple inches down from the neckline.
And only attached to the lining.
Only attached
to the lining. So think about this. Why did this dress get screwed up? Oh, really?
Yeah. So it's basically been hanging by its lining for however long.
A minute. But I called that an eon.
It's been hanging by its lining for a minute. Okay, so I started to sew the 2 dresses together, the lining to the outer dress along a side seam. And then I must admit that I decided that it's my life and I didn't want to do that on the other side. Right. And I was like, why am I remaking this dress? And it's fine once it gets on her, and we'd hemmed it already, and so I was like, okay, I'm going to stop doing that.
Usually you can tack it in a few places and you're okay, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, it's just...
Right.
So I tacked it. Yeah, I did tack it in a couple places on the other side. And then I did a tack at like the center front waist. Okay.
Right.
I tacked the 2 together. I used the silamide thread that we talked about in the zine. And I was all like, oh, I should not get through the sheer overlay and and everything. I was like, whatever, and I don't think I did, but I thought no one's going to see it.
It hangs pretty
and no one's going to see the thread,
Right.
So what I did there was I put a very long hanging strap from the waist.
So a ribbon strap, a ribbon loop.
Mm-hmm. It's a very substantial ribbon. It's like a nice ribbon. And it goes all the way up to like the high point of the hanger. Okay,
Right.
Like
It goes around the
collar,
neck of the
hanger.
hanger. Yes.
And then what I did was I brought that, strapless neckline up, and I put I crocheted, your little
hand crocheted with your sewing thread. A loop,
a guide. People do belt loops like this, that this ribbon could go through right at that center front. Okay, and I put the ribbon up through there, and then I raised the dress up to the level where it would be held up properly,
right,
like in its
and
shape.
it would look like its shape should be, right.
And I put a button on the ribbon,
right,
so that dress could hang like that.
Hang on the button,
yes,
so to speak.
So it wouldn't slouch over.
Right.
The other thing I did on this dress, which I was so excited to do because I'd never done this on anything personally. I'd seen you do it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the live broadcast for the Zigzaggers in, I think that was June or July was Fancy Month. I'm sorry. I'm having trouble remembering. I think it was June. In June, you showed them how to run the stitch along the neckline.
How to cup the top of the, and it's not the neckline.
No.
It's the bust line, really.
Line.
Right. It's when you have a strapless dress.
So there's a way that you can apply stitches to that bust line in order to make the dress cup more over the chest, and so it's not gapping.
Right.
And I was doing this, and I did it like halfway, kind of like you did in the Zigzagger broadcast. And I looked, and I was like, "Oh my gosh,
it makes such a difference."
Made this smaller. This is going to stay on her chest better, and it's not going to be so, exposed. She won't feel the need to pull it up. And I didn't take pictures because I was very tired, and it was hard to get a picture, but you could see just up at the top how that part had gotten shorter.
It just makes a slight cup, brings it in, makes it shorter, and it's nothing that changes the design of the dress. It changes the fit of the dress.
And it doesn't actually make like the top of the dress smaller, like in terms of, fitting around the breasts or something like that.
No, it doesn't change the cup size at all.
I was absolutely thrilled doing that. I thought, oh my gosh, I've arrived. Okay. I was like, that was fun. That was a fun part of this project. So I had a good time doing that. And yeah, I'm excited to see how that looks on her. So the other thing that you told me to do, and I think we might be able to wrap it up with this, that I forgot to do this when she came to try on this dress, is when you put someone in one of these corseted back dresses.
Where they lace.
These lace back dresses. You put it on them, and you get the dress up, around their body, around their torso, and you take a ribbon, and you just tie a knot.
Tie two loops where the waistline is.
Where the waistline is.
You put and you tie it together where it feels like it will stay up and it's comfortable.
Yes.
And then you also do that at the top two loops.
Yeah.
Then you loop the dress together.
Okay, then you lace it.
Right,
okay,
then you lace it.
I forgot.
Right.
I remember us doing that for Caitlin's dress a few years ago.
Well, it saves the lacer upper person for sure.
Yes.
And it doesn't shift on them while you're doing it.
Well, I think it also saves the wearer too, because
that's what I'm saying. You don't have to say to her, you have to hold this whole dress up while we're doing this.
Yes.
It just works.
It's something I'll do.
And I think you saw what I do. I take two pieces of ribbon and I loop them around the loop.
Just leave them there.
You send them away with that.
Yes.
And nowadays, I used to do that in front of someone. Nowadays, you can actually make them a video and send it to them on their phone.
Man, we've been making a lot of videos lately.
Yeah, we make a lot of videos on how to do this and how to. But people do not know how to wear garments. Okay, nobody. It might be the only time she ever wears a dress like this.
Well, it's just the way our lifestyles are nowadays.
Right.
Like going from just wearing T-shirts and jeans to wearing one of these.
Apparently,
it's different.
I see these photos of these women in their wedding dress or anybody in their wedding dress. And I'm like, that's not on them correctly.
Yeah.
Like they're at the gown store. And it's not on them right.
Well, you said when I got that picture.
I said this is not on her right. It doesn't look right.
Yeah, and you also said, oh, she's kind of slouching.
I said, is she slouching?
Yeah.
Yes, I couldn't tell.
When I laced it up on her properly,
she was fine.
She was like, oh,
well,
okay,
it'll make you stand up,
walk
right?
Around,
that is kind of one thing nice about a corseted dress is it adds to your posture.
Well, I find when I'm wearing clothes that don't fit nicely, even like normal, like if my leggings are too big, I'll find I'm like kind of sticking my butt out a little bit to keep them up or something,
Well, actually, this t-shirt rides up on my boobs, drives me crazy, and I'm always pulling it down. Like it must just not have enough room right there.
Well, I think that, the only reason that I know so much about this,
it's because we do garments all day long.
It's because we did garment, and because I did all that performing.
Well, and we live garments, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So I totally understand.
And people who have performed sometimes will wear clothes a lot better. They've had a costumer who said, "This fits like this. You have to do this." But
or had to wear
they've been
something
coached,
weird.
and you've worn something that's not within
weird.
your normal, spectrum of clothing. Yes,
Yeah.
it's not in your wardrobe.
Right. You're right. No.
Or something that's not quite right. Like you're like, this is as good as it gets. You only have to wear it for 2 minutes. Well, or what about the things
Tangent. Stop. I'm interrupting.
Tangent warning. Warning.
How about when somebody else costumes the play you're in,
and your zipper keeps coming down on your
zipper
dress?
Keeps coming down, so you plan in the choreography when your back is to your friend, and they can re-zip your dress and re-zip your dress and re-zip your dress. Yeah.
Yes, and what should have been done is a new zipper should have been put in. For instance, when I put a parka zipper, right?
Yes.
In a cocktail dress.
Right.
Which you don't do that in real life, but when you have a quick change and the person is naked in the bombs, changing from one costume to the other, you put in a parka zipper because your daughter, who happens to be their dresser, which is not this daughter, but my oldest daughter, every time she put her in the dress, the zipper broke.
Right.
I would put a zipper in after every performance. So on the third performance, she got a parka zipper.
Yes.
It matched. It worked.
Right.
Nobody knew from the stage that she had a parka zipper in.
That was in Evita, just so you all know.
Yes, it was.
Okay, well, I think I know that we covered quite a few things in Fancy Month about this,
right?
But I thought this was a little bit more in depth about.
Well, we just addressed hems in particular.
Particular things, but I really would recommend if you're interested in making formal wear or, getting into altering formal wear or something like that, that zine is really good. It's got a lot
That article is good.
It's
or if you have a wedding coming up that somebody's going to make you do or
absolutely
talk you into doing or guilt you into doing or whatever. All my daughters are married. Their next weddings are their problems.
The next wedding attire is their own problem.
Their next wedding is their. Although I do have 2 granddaughters and a bunch of grandsons.
How many grandsons?
3.
3. Okay.
So far.
I don't know why I couldn't count the grandsons.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens. Well, and all the costumes I have ahead of me.
Another tangent. Zelda is sewing buttons onto fabric
now. That's so cute.
So I got into our cross stitch stuff to try out improper cross stitch patterns by Haley Pearson Cox, and I got a little hoop out, and I put some Ada cloth in it, a little scrap. Yeah. But then there was felt and the scraps of felt. And I knotted a needle for her. I sent her with other grandma. Okay, with Derek's mom. And I was like, I just put this sewing kit together for her. Do you want it for today?
Right.
And she's like, okay. Came back, buttons on the 8 o'clock.
There you go.
And so then we were doing some this morning, and she was actually going to see grandma number 3, Derek's stepmom. And she sews too, actually.
Right.
So I sent that with them, and she was doing it with me this morning, though. And it was so cute. And she's learning how to hold the needle. And she's doing a really good job.
Yeah.
I'm this is... I can't imagine what she'll be doing a year from now.
Right.
If she can sew on a
button. Or she'll hate it.
Right now. Yeah, one or the other. Whatever. We're trying to keep it fun. All right. Well, you can find us on Instagram. We're Zede's Sewing Studio. You can join us in our wonderful Facebook group at facebook.com/group/The Self-Sewn Wardrobe. Take it away, Mom.
So long and so happy.
Thanks for listening to Sewing Out Loud. For even more expert sewing advice, visit sewhere.com.